I think I might have.
No, wait,
might have surfed through that. And I feel like I understand a hole in my understanding of mathematics, and I start to horseshoe back around together. These are both better, and I feel like you're really good at explaining things, and we're right here in the same room. So I'm doing, and I would like to know what I'm doing, and would you please give me that knowledge in the way you do, where it makes sense to normal people?
Wow. All right, so calculus. I don't know. Okay, so let's. So, how about we just do it without using any fancy math words?
All right.
Okay, so when I was a kid, I was sitting in a car. I forget if it was my dad driving or my Uncle Stan. I forget who was driving. But I remember observing that there was something hanging from the rearview mirror. Okay? Imagine a pendulum hanging down from the rearview mirror of a car.
Sure, like a New Age crystal. Okay.
And imagine that we're at a stoplight and the windows are rolled up, so wind's not a really big deal. The air conditioner's off or whatever. And the light turns green. And when the light turns green, the driver steps on the accelerator, and you're a kid, and you don't know words, but you're looking at that pendulum, and you realize that as you accelerate, that air freshener or sunglasses hanging from the mirror, or let's just pick a thing. What is it going to be?
The John Denver New Age crystal for channeling.
Okay, a crystal. It's hanging down. We're like a pendulum. So this pendulum swings to the rear of the car. The distance that it swings backwards is a function of how hard the accelerator is pressed, right?
Right.
So when I was a kid, I was in this car, and I was looking at that thing, and I noticed, I was like, man, that thing's moving backwards when we speed up. When we slow down, it moves forwards.
Or it seems like that.
It seems like that. And if we're doing nothing, like if we're not accelerating or decelerating, whether that's at rest at a stoplight or if we're going down the road at 60 miles an hour, if we're not changing anything, then it seems to just kind of level out and just hang straight down. You with me?
Yeah.
So I remember thinking that, and I remember thinking, wow. Because I had this nightmare when I was a kid that one of the Sesame Street monsters ate me, and that's relevant to this conversation.
Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah.
I look forward to the connection.
So in this nightmare, this monster ate me, and I had a robot outside of the monster, and that I had a remote control to, and I could control it. I had really weird dreams when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, okay, well, I have to fight this monster with my robot, but I can't actually see my robot, so I have to infer where the monster is and figure out where everything is, without actually getting to see anything.
Okay.
We're getting a calculus, I promise.
No. I like how this is working.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm about 60 seconds from finally understanding you.
So, the idea is, if we were to black out the windows in the car, and the only thing we could see is that pendulum, could we figure out where the car is? Right? We can't see anything. All we can see is the pendulum. We don't even feel the acceleration or the deceleration. When you go around a curve to the left, the pendulum swings to the right. Could we look at this pendulum and could we figure out where we are? Let's say we start in your driveway. And could we start adding up the things that the pendulum does? And could that get us to a place where we could figure out where we are?
Which direction it moves, how quickly it moves there, how long it takes to correct back to neutral, add all that up to figure out how far we traveled in each direction.
Yeah. For example, you're at a stoplight, all you can see is the pendulum, and then you see that the pendulum swings backwards, and it stays backwards for 2 seconds. And then it slowly starts to go back to straight down. Well, that tells me, if we were at 0 miles an hour, I know that the pendulum will swing this far back based on how fast we're speeding up, and then it slows down. So we must be going 60 miles an hour, right? Based on however long like if you knew all the things about the pendulum.
Yeah.
You with me?
I'm very with you. Yes.
Okay. So I had this thought as a child, and I thought to myself, there's something there.
There is something there in that you had that thought as a child.
And so I thought about this a different way. I thought, well, what if I had a bowl, like just a spherical bowl, and I put a marble in the center of the bowl, and I held the bowl just straight with the horizon, and then we accelerated, and then that marble would move opposite of the directions we were accelerating. If I could add up the time that the marble was in a certain place, then I could figure out where we were and how fast we were going.
How old were you when you had this thought?
I don't know. It was before I knew.
Like 36?
No, I mean, I just didn't know much about math or anything like that.
Yeah, but dude, like, just step aside from all of what we're doing here for 1 second. You were gonna be an engineer. Like, I'm telling you, man, that is nature. That is in you. And I'm very curious about the world, and I poke at things like that too. And I'm always curious about it. But when I was riding in the back seat with my dad, at the age I'm imagining you were, I remember being like, I just wish everybody was religious. I just wish they were all Christian, Dad. What if you just moved somewhere and made a Christian town? And all the street names could be Christian, and all the rules could be Christian, and nobody would ever fight again. And Dad was like, well, what do you think wouldn't work about that? And I was like, well, eventually, maybe somebody wouldn't believe it anymore. Right, and then what would you do with them? Oh. And so, like, Dad and I went on a ride, and like, we figured out Western liberalism, and like, why you have to have an accommodating, tolerant society that works for multiple belief systems, and what things you could distill it down to. And that was my dad more than me, obviously. But I think about that anecdote in the abstract and ethics and things like that. And I've never really thought about what little kid Destin would do in the back of the car and what he'd wonder about. And you're back there thinking about how to blind remote control a combat robot to defeat Cookie Monster.
It wasn't Cookie Monster. It was one of them that had teeth. It was the big red one.
Oh, the red one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does have teeth.
Yeah.
And you're figuring out how to make like a model of physical motion out of a bowl and a marble, and intuitively you knew that you needed something that could contain the marble, and it would have limited friction so that you get an accurate read.
Right, exactly.
On how on the directional movement. That's just incredible that your kid brain did that, and I'm sitting here looking at you. You're not telling me that with body language, like, well, when I was a kid, I solved Newton's law. Like, this is just what you thought about. I think that's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Of course you do what you do now.
It's fun. So fast forward